dopey.
So this is a dopey meeting, so it's a little different. So I just want to start off by saying it's about goddamn time y'all give me my own fucking speaker meeting. Like, whose dick do I gotta suck to get a fucking dopey speaker meeting of my own? Like, how many dopey meetings do I have to go to get a speaker meeting in this shit? No, I'm just kidding. I had to do it. Only in dopey, right? All honesty, Annie, Liz, thank you for this opportunity. Dopey Nation, I love you all so much, for real. I'm gonna try not to cry like 2 minutes in here, but for those that don't know, I got clean and dopey. If it wasn't for dopey, I would not be clean right now. I wouldn't have found recovery, and it's really, really much appreciated it's so much appreciated. I might name a few of you here and there, but I do want. Oh shit! I already made somebody leave, huh? Fuck. I do want you to know I may name a few of you. I don't want to leave any one of you out. Each one of you have a part of my recovery, and I mean that. Just being in Dopey Nation every day. I wanted to start out my speaker meeting with a Gabor Mate quote. He said, "Trauma is trauma," and when I first heard that, it sounded very shallow. It sounded like, damn, trauma is trauma. But what he kind of like, when you peel that apart, a lot of you guys have been through a lot of shit. Your stories are, to hear some of your stories and hear you guys on the other side of it in recovery is amazing. The amount of trauma that I've been through doesn't even compare, but it's still very important that I identify what kind of molded who I was, what molded my character defects, what made me become the person I am. And what kind of fed my addiction, because it all kind of does link to that. I'll give you a quick example. If you took two kids, right? If you took two children, you raised them in the same household, and you beat the shit out of one, and you just yelled at the other one, right? The one that you beat the shit out of is going to be a lot more severely traumatized than the one that you just yelled at. But the one that you just yelled at is still going to be traumatized. That's still going to mold the person and the character defects that person becomes. So that's it's important for me to understand that, remember that, and not like you can't ever downplay your trauma. You have to be able to identify it and kind of link back, because a lot of those things that happen to us as kids and young adults, it's the shit that kind of haunts you and turns you in to the monster that I became, as far as my addiction goes. So I'll start it off. You guys hear the music? So I was born in Denver. No, I'm kidding. Shit, I love this shit. Yeah, you guys are so screwed, man. I was born in Denver, Colorado. Actually, lived in a place called Pueblo West, just outside of Denver. I don't remember a ton of that. I moved away from there when I was 1 year old. My parents are both from Chicago. My dad was out there working, and that's what brought us out there. My grandfather my mom's dad was dying of cancer. So at the age of 1, like right before I turned 1, we moved back to Chicago, just me and my mom, and my dad had to stay back, finish up some work. And we put my grandfather to rest. A couple months later, my grandfather passed away. I didn't really think about this until I was writing this out. But I wonder how much effect that had on me at the young, when you're 1 year old, you're starting to walk and talk, and all these big monumental moments in a little boy's life. And, I wonder how much effect that had on me, that my mother was grieving her dad, when I was that age. Um, Shortly after my dad moved back to Chicago with us, my first memory that I have is waking up and him not being there. I woke up in an empty apartment or empty house. I don't even know where we were doing. And I remember playing on the floor with my uncle, and my mom was in the bedroom crying, and they had split up. And I don't remember any memories that led up to that. I just remember that's like, I try to go backtrack, and that's the first memory that I have. It kind of sucks because, like, I always wondered, is it, or do we all have that first, is our first memory actually a negative memory? Like, is that just addicts? Is that just me? Like, you would think, like, the first time, the first memory that you have would be like, the first time you ate cake, or, the first time I seen a boob, or, first time I went on a water slide. It's not, it's that, it's the day my dad left. I moved in with my grandmother, me and my mom. This is a house full. My aunt lived there. My cousin lived there. And, I felt out of place. I didn't feel like, I didn't have a room. I didn't feel like I belonged there. And it wasn't nothing that they did. It was just, it wasn't our house, Shortly after we moved, we moved around a lot. We moved to shitty apartments. It was like kind of outside of Chicago, like northwest suburbs. Like, right, if you ever been to O'Hare Airport, Bensenville, Elmhurst, like that kind of area. Not a bad area, but we would kind of bounce around from like shitty apartment to shitty apartment. Something crazy would happen with a neighbor, and we'd move. I remember like one time my mom said somebody's trying to like break in our house, and like she woke up and the dude's like leg was in the window, and she woke up and like scared him off. So we would move. So it's constantly like replanting a plant, and I couldn't really like set any roots. I was constantly having to make new friends. I was constantly that new kid on the block. Second memory that I have that's significant in my young childhood is my mom was picking up a TV from my grandmother's house, and she had thrown her back out. Like, I was in the car, and like, I'm a young kid, and probably like picking my nose and like looking at garbage pail kids and shit. You like when your kid's 5 years old, you're not going to tell your kid that you threw your back out. You hurt your back. It usually don't even kick in like 30 minutes later. And then you at some point it, started getting spasms. So I had no idea what was going on. And we were on a really busy street, and my mom pulls over abruptly. She's like, go in the store and call an ambulance. I'm like, what? She's like, go in the store and have them call an ambulance. I need an ambulance. And, like, mind you, like, I'm 5 years old. Like, so I run in the store. I'm like, I think my mom's dying. Like, I hear ambulance and I think she's dying. And, call an ambulance, and the ambulance comes, and they put her in the ambulance. And for a second there, I was standing there with two cops, and my mom, they shut the door on the ambulance. And my mom, now all of a sudden, like, I think my mom's dying. My dad's gone, like, I thinking like I gotta have to fend for myself. Like, I'm gonna eat like hot dogs out the trash and shit, like. And shortly after, it was nothing. All it was my grandma, my mom threw her back out. She had to go to the hospital. That's all that's happened. But in a 5-year-old's eyes, not knowing what's going on, that fear of loss kind of settled in, and like what was in front of you can change like in the snap of the finger, like what you had in your hand isn't necessarily like solid, it's like liquid, and it may not be there tomorrow, and that really, really stuck with me throughout my childhood. Other than that, like, Chicago was like, it was a cool place. I have a lot of good memories. I had a lot of family there. The Bears won the Super Bowl. Like, it was good times. It wasn't all bad, but those two kind of significant negative memories kind of stuck out to me throughout life. I would visit my dad in Florida. He moved to Florida when they split, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And, it was Disney dad, no discipline, arcades every night, go out to eat every night, ice cream every night. I remember the last week of the summer, I was there for a whole summer. And the last week of the summer, he couldn't get a babysitter. So I had to go to a public funded summer camp. And, it was hood. I got there, and it was like, I'd never interacted with anybody in Florida before, and a lot of country boys there. And, I was scared. I was young. And within a couple of hours, this this dude gets jumped. This dude gets beat up by a bunch of dudes. And that's the first time I seen a fight. That's the first time I seen any blood. He got his ass beat. He didn't get up. It was bad. And that scared the fuck out of me. That scared me really, really bad. That's the reputation that I had what Florida was. When I was with my dad, I was safe. But anything outside of not being with my dad, that's the reputation that Florida had to me. My parents ended up, probably about the age of 8, they ended up getting back together. We moved to Florida. I had that stuck in my head. Like that's what Florida's going to be like is fights, and I was really, really scared. I was real soft too. I was the soft kid. I was very emotional. When I got to Chicago when I got down to Florida, and my mom and dad got back together, like that Disney dad shit, that was out the window. Things had changed. He wasn't used to having a kid around and his wife around and, a lot of financial responsibility. I just want to sidetrack here. If I say something negative about my wife, my mom, my dad, like I have all great relationships with them today. And nobody's perfect. They do the best they can with what they know and what they have available to them, just like we all do. No one's fucking perfect. And my dad's not that horrible guy, but there's things that I might mention here that might make him look like a piece of shit, and he's not. He's a good dude. My parents constantly fought, and like I said, Disney dad was out the window. Sometimes it would get physical, sometimes a very hostile environment. Not a lot, but once in a while it would, and that fear was always there. I remember having a Nerf basketball, like a little hoop in the basketball room in the bedroom. And I would sit there and like make bets with God. Like if I make this shot, they're going to stop fighting, and I'd miss. Okay. If I make one of these 2 shots, they're going to stop fighting, and I'd miss both of them. Okay. If I hit the rim, you know what I mean? And that was the first moment, like I was trying to take control. I was making bets with God. I'm trying to control something that I had zero control over. I had zero control over that shit. They're fighting like any other couple. And I was thinking in my mind, I was controlling that situation by making a fucking basketball shot. I quickly realized I needed to toughen up. I was like almost like a survival mode. My dad, he's not the type, he's not going to teach you how to throw the ball. He's not going to teach you how to ride a bike. He's not going to take you to the game. But he did teach me work ethic. He taught me street smart. He taught me how to read a hustle. He also taught me how to like hide your emotions. He also taught me to tuck your feelings away, to not show that you're phased. He said that was a sign of weakness. And as bad as that sounds, that's kind of what I needed at that point in time. Because the way I was going to get my ass whooped. I had to toughen up a little bit. I couldn't show weakness, because if you show weakness, you will get taken advantage of. You will get your shit taken. I got in a few fights here and there. I'm not a big fighter, but I did stand up for myself. And, when you're young like that in a fight, and this is kind of anywhere, like you earn respect, win or lose, whether you win or whether you lose, you still gain respect of those around you. You show people like you're not going to take shit from people, and I noticed like if I started raising my voice or if I started trying to be intimidating, that had a reaction to it. But at the end of the day, that was completely fear-based. That was me being scared, me and trying to intimidate somebody. That means that I was super fucking scared inside. And that's the way I would kind of hide it. I went to a rough middle school. When I was supposed to go to middle school, the school I was supposed to go to was shut down because of asbestos or some shit. I don't remember what it was. But so what they did was they split our school and by the neighborhood. There's a major street, Commercial Boulevard, and they said everybody south of this is going to go to Lauderdale Lakes, and everybody north is going to another school. So I ended up at Lauderdale Lakes, and it was a rough school. But you guys probably won't believe this, but I'm actually a class clown, believe it or not. But no, that to be honest, like that class clownish thing and that being able to be witty and quick, like that helped me out. Because like, for instance, like if somebody comes up to you like, hey, what's in your backpack? I'd be like, your mom's phone number, bitch, and instead of it being a fight, it would turn into kind of like a cracking, we just crack on each other or we just talk shit about each other, so I used that to making people laugh, and it helped me. It helped me get through that year. I also started playing football, basketball. I played football on a team. When you play football, when you play on a team, but especially football, because it's such a big group of kids, you create like this brotherhood. You go through wins and losses together. You go literally through blood, sweat, and tears. You go through discipline together. You do everything as a team, and so that creates like a brotherhood. So when I get to school, now I'm in 7th grade. I'm getting to the school that I'm supposed to go to, which is Rickards Middle School. And in my mind, I'm reuniting with all my elementary friends, but that wasn't the case. What they did was they redid the district, and they mixed these 4 neighborhoods together. So when I got there, it was like a fucking war zone. Like there's this girl getting her weave pulled out over here, and this dude's got a bloody nose, and I'm like, oh shit, like here we go again, like damn, like I constantly like had this fucking fear, but I was waiting at my class to get in, and waiting for the bell to ring, and these 3 dudes walk up to us, and they didn't even look like they belonged to high school. Like they had beards and shit, they're like, hey, empty your pockets. And I'm like, fuck, man, and I was sitting there with like 2 dudes that I went to elementary school with. And right when he said that, though, this dude, his name's Otis, running back for my football team. I never even spoke to this dude, but we were on the same football team, same neighborhood. And he came up, he said, I don't know him, and I don't know him. But him right there, he lives in Oakland Park, so don't fuck with him. And they were like, oh, all right. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I finally had protection, but that shit made my ego, because right then I was like, hey, I'm from Oakland Park, bitch. It made my ego, like, take off. I thought I was a shit, I thought I was hot shit. But, again, that ego, that's all fear-based. That's not who I was. Inside, I'm fucking scared. I'm scared as fuck inside. I was good at making money. My dad taught me how to work hard, and I was selling candy, and I started mowing lawns. I started to DJ, and I didn't just DJ just to make money. I also DJ because I wanted to gain popularity. I wanted to be that dude up there playing all the music, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's his name?" But I had more money than the average kid my age. I started acting out, though. I started stealing cigarettes. I would steal clothes, steal shoes, not shoes, but like clothes and like CDs and like just little shit, and it wasn't even really necessarily for the material. It was just it was almost like a rush, But by the time I was 16, I had made enough money to buy a car. And I was really proud of that, I had bought a car a week before I turned 16. So I was driving right at 16, With that, my parents, to them, in their eyes, I looked very responsible, So I had a lot of freedom. I was able to do what I wanted, when you have a car, you start gaining, instantly you get a lot of friends. And I have my friend Bjorn, who I'm still friends with today. And he's a really fly dude, always had Jordans or Air Maxes, always had like some Tommy Hilfiger hockey jersey, like always really fly, always like super quiet dude, but super cool, someone like I wanted to be around. And he gets in my car and he lights up a blunt, or to those of you out of America, a spliff boy, and lights up a blunt. And I had smoked weed, and I've tried alcohol before this, but I didn't like it. The weed didn't get me high. The alcohol got me sick. The only thing I really did up until this point was smoke cigarettes. But we smoked that whole entire blunt, and I got high as fuck. And that right in that moment, I was like, oh, I want to do this shit every fucking day. Like that was that moment. That was the arrival moment. I hear a lot in speaker meetings, it was finally able to quiet the noise. And to be honest, at that time, I didn't really, really feel like I was quieting anything. I felt more like I was enhancing something, but that later changed. I realized something that little piece right there, instead of, enhancing something, ultimately, I think I kind of was quieting that noise. I started getting in a lot more trouble though, I got robbed for all my jewelry at the mall. I got arrested. I got caught smoking weed from my parents. In high school, I was one of them obnoxious motherfuckers. I had like, I had a car with the booming system and the rattling trunk and the rims and shit. Like, I had to be seen. You had to see me pulling up, you were going to know I was pulling up, and, I thought I was hot shit, and that shit got me in fights, shit got me into trouble. I was pulling up to this high school party, and, this, you got to think, this is mid 90s. And we're white boys listening to hip hop, and like, we're a little different, this is before Eminem and all that shit. We were a little different. So the country boys, they didn't like us. We didn't fit in with them. They listened to country music and rock, and I didn't like none of that shit. I got along with a lot of them, but like some of the older dudes looked at me and like, look at this pussy motherfucker, And so I'm at this, I park, and this is like just an empty parking lot. And this dude pulls up. His name is Boulder, big ass motherfucker, Hoss, crazy. He wasn't all there, and I knew who he was. And he pulls up right behind me. And he pulls up so close to my car that I got to move off. We were sitting on the trunk. He pulls up so close that I had to move off my trunk. And I'm not gonna mess with this dude. I ain't that stupid. Get off my car. We go to the side, and my three friends are like kind of there on the car, and I'm looking at them. I'm not really paying this dude no mind. I'm showing him that I'm not fazed, just like Dad taught me. I'm not fazed by this dude. And I'm sitting there talking to him, and all of a sudden I see their chins drop, and I turn around. And there's a shotgun right in my face, and like, I was like, I didn't do shit. What the fuck are you going to do? And he didn't say much, he didn't do nothing. He didn't shoot me, he wasn't going to shoot me. But the fact of the matter is that was his way of letting me know, like, you ain't shit, you ain't nothing around here, and I run this shit. You ain't shit, and that was, it took a piece of my pride, I cared a lot about what people thought around me, shortly after that, I was, same thing, booming system and the rims. And I worked at this grocery store, and I pull up to this grocery store, and I see this little dude to the, on the front. Didn't pay him no mind. Went in the store, came out, and I'm getting in my car, and I go to start my car. And, I was kind of fiddling around with the tape player or whatever I was doing, and I didn't close my door. So I go to close my door, and as soon as I close my door, he's right there. Hey, where you going? I'm like, don't worry about where the fuck I'm going. And right when I go to close my door, he puts a knife to my throat. Get the fuck out the car. And I'm like, I'm like, all right, get the fuck out the car. I'm like, all right, man. I slide out the car. I watch my car pull away, it was a complete fucking loss. It was, people talk shit, they hear, oh, you got carjacked? Like, yeah. They're like, oh, what happened? They came at you with the guns and shit? I'm like, nah, I'm with the knife. They're like, oh, you let them take your shit with a knife? Like, and that just kind of made my ego and like my intent, like I had to be louder now. I had to be bigger now, like, yeah, he took my shit. Like, what are you going to do? What are you, Bruce Lee, going to hit the knife out of his fucking hand? Like, come on, man. And, but it was, I cared a lot about how people viewed me, and how tough people thought that I was. I cared a lot about that. Again, all fear-based though, My parents kind of like got scared, they put the tighter leash on me. I started working with my dad, which is helpful, helped me today to a lot of skills that I have, how to drive a forklift, how to fix machinery and run machinery. And it was a printing shop, so I learned a lot. I started, I met Nina, that's my wife. I've been with her since I've been about 16 years old. Graduated high school, went to college. I kind of, after those few things happened, my mom and dad put the leash on me a little tighter. I calmed down, I humbled down a little bit, now I got Nina, and, I'm more concerned about our relationship and shit like that. Right when, about 2 years after meeting her and kind of like getting out of high school, getting into college, her dad was passing away of lymphoma cancer. And it happened quick, it was like 6 months. And, it was a rough time for her family. And 2 weeks before he died, we were seeing him. We'd go to see him like, once or twice a week. And he pulled me in really close, and he goes, and he didn't really like me at first, but he grew to love me, and he said, Scott, I love you like a son. And he said, please protect my daughter, and that stuck with me. That was pretty much, for me personally, that was his last words to me. And that stuck with me. After that, and not because of her dad dying, but But we started partying more. You know, I started DJing more at raves, more drugs, ecstasy, LSD, shrooms. You know, experimenting with pills and ketamine and all this shit. And you know, was you know, at the time it was just like a party. You know, when I graduated college, I was making more money than I am now. It's not that I'm like not doing horrible now, but I was that successful. It was a good time in the economy. You know, I worked under my dad, so it's easy to kind of, you know, make more money, easy to get promoted and shit like that. But my ego started coming out in different forms and like more material. You know, I had got married. You know, we had new cars. I bought a condo. You know, the vacations and the clothes. It just like my ego now is like coming out in different forms. Instead of trying to be intimidating, I was trying to have like better shit than you had, you know? At that point, the rave scene kind of died down. The DJing kind of died down. And it switched to the partying kind of switched to hanging out at the house and doing coke, you know? And the one thing I'll say, and just so you guys know, the coke was like the end of my downfall. You know, like that ended up being my DOC. But just so you guys know, like at that point in time, like the quality of the coke that I was getting wasn't great. You know, it was really hit or miss. I think if maybe I had more consistent hookup at that point, then maybe things might have been different a little earlier in life. But I think the fact that I was getting shitty coke from time to time, it wasn't like appealing to go and, you know, do it a lot, you know. But even when I had good shit, I was able to put it down, you know, like I wouldn't do it day after day, you know. It's kind of weird, you know, because like at the end, like I couldn't keep coke in my pocket for 2 hours, you know. Back then I used to put that shit, you know, in the drawer, you know, leave it there for a week and, you know, probably it didn't melt and shit, but you know, like I was able to put it down and pick it up when as wanted, as needed kind of deal. I wasn't addicted to it yet, but I did smoke weed every day. That was one thing, but I didn't really look at that as partying. I looked at that like it was my, like, you know, my water basically. I started doing pool fencing. Pool fencing is like a mesh removable fence. In 2004, they passed a law in Florida saying that you had to, if you're building a new pool in Florida, that you had to put one of these fences up, whether you had kids or not. And I got in really early in that business. I was working for a company. It was really cool. I was on the road. I was selling, installing. You know, it was hard work, but I really loved being on the road, and I was making a good amount of money. The speed shit was moving for me. You know, I honestly, I thought by the time I was 30 that I was going to be a millionaire. You know, like straight up. Like I really thought, like, and to be honest, like, what it was is I was surrounding myself with a bunch of fucking losers that sold drugs, you know? So I was doing better than all these idiots, you know? So I really thought I was going to be a fucking millionaire by the time I was 30. Like I had no doubt in my mind. By the age I was kind of rounding 30, you know, about 28, 29, I had my son. And my first son, Jacob, he's 13 now. That was fucking awesome. Like that was one of the best moments of my life. You know, he filled that hole. I remember like not having to consciously make a decision to stop doing drugs and stop partying. Again, I still smoked weed, but the coke just kind of went away. I didn't like make a conscious decision to have to stop. You know, he filled whatever that need, you know, that God hole or whatever you want to call it. And it was awesome. Like I took him everywhere. I was a proud fucking dad, you know, and it was such a great time in my life. I have a lot of great memories from that. You know, as '08 approached, though, which was a crash of the economy, as '08 approached, it felt like it happened overnight, but it really didn't. It kind of crept up on us and snuck up on us. And leading up into that, I started racking a lot more credit up. You know, I probably got myself in about 30 grand of debt. The condo that I bought was, you know, going to eventually dropped in value to less than half of what it was worth. We ended up going bankrupt. And we ended up losing the condo and foreclosing on the condo. And, you know, that sounds horrible, but actually at the time it was kind of a relief because, like I said, I was in such debt and I was so upside down in my condo that it was like, fuck it, you know, whatever. Get me out of this shit, you know. I started my wife lost her job. She worked in investments and life insurance, and that was dead, at that point in the economy. And the pool fencing, that was kind of dead because nobody's building pools, So, but the business shifted. I opened up my own little business, and I was working for banks, and I was putting pool fences. They passed another law saying any bank-owned property needs to have a pool fence because it's a liability for their insurance. So I got in on that, and I had endless contracts. As much as physically you wanted to work, the work was there, and there was no sales. It was just a list of pools to do, and I grinded. I grinded. And I'm not scared of working, and one thing I want to back up. Right before we went bankrupt, we were advised, and I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm not telling you to do this, but we were advised to buy 2 brand new cars before our bankruptcy. And because when you buy the car, it's going to be upside down in value. And as long as you keep up with the payments, they're not going to repo the car. Okay. Again, that's not financial advice. It's just what we did. And so that's what we did. So we also squatted in our condo for a year and just stacked that money. So we got about, I don't know, 10, 15 grand in the bank. We got 2 brand new cars, and we find this badass house to rent. So we bounced right back. Within a couple of years, we went from being 30 grand in debt, upside down in a condo, to bouncing right back. And, the party started again. Things were good, and I would celebrate, enhance the situation. It was, I was still able to put the coke down though. Lost my place there. I always had cash, Nina's a frugal woman. She's not real super materialistic, but it was kind of, and I took care of the finances, and just, she makes more money than me, but I handled the finances. And so anytime she needed anything, clothes, get her hair done, her nails, it was just like, go ahead, hit the safe, let me know what you take, and that's it. There was never questioning about that, so, and I was back to able to maintain that, and that made me feel good. That made me feel like, yeah, I'm taking care of my family, So my wife gets pregnant for a second time, and within the first trimester, so maybe about 3 months in, she loses the baby. She has a miscarriage. I can't begin to relate to what she went through physically and mentally. I can't even come close to it. I witnessed it. I witnessed her lose her smile. It really took a toll on us, especially her, and this is the first fucking time in my life that I wasn't able to fix whatever problem she had. I wasn't able to throw money at it. There was nothing that I could do to get that smile back, and that was hard for me. That was very, very tough on me. It was 10 times worse on her, couple months later, we're at my son's soccer game, and things were just kind of starting to get back to normal. And we get home from the soccer game, and my house had been burglarized and completely ransacked. Every fucking drawer in my house was emptied on the floor. Everything, they went through my son's room, PlayStations, all his shit, anything worth of value, gone. I had a box that I had from my grandfather. He was in World War II, and he collected coins from all over the world. He was a pilot. He went all over the world, collected coins, and he had medals, and he took that shit. All my wife's jewelry, shit that my father-in-law gave my wife, gone. My wife's wedding ring, she didn't have her wedding ring on at the soccer game, gone. After that miscarriage, and it just starting to be getting back up on your knees, and then to get home to that, that fucking devastated us, I watched my wife drop to her knees and let out a cry that I never heard before. I couldn't do shit. I couldn't do a fucking thing. There was nothing I can do to fix this shit. And her dad told me, protect my daughter, and that's what I'm there for. I'm there to protect my fucking family. And I couldn't, it's not my fault, but they didn't feel safe. My wife didn't feel safe. You know, her anxiety had gone through the roof, and it was tough. You know, it was like that's hard to recover from. I don't think we're still like fully recovered from that. You know, and I've never, you know, it's one, like I've had my shit taken before, you know, so you kind of get numb to it in a way. But for the take from my family, that's like next level shit. Like I wanted to find out who this dude was, and I literally wanted to kill this motherfucker, you know, like straight up. Like, and I found out who he was, you know. And you know who he was? He was a dude that's sick just like us, you know. Tats all over the face, rap sheet, you know, endless rap sheet, you know. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to go after him? You're going to go shoot up his mom's house? No, you're not. You know, like there's nothing you can do. You're not going to sue him. He's a sick kid. You know, he's a sick dude, you know. Those substance, I think like at that moment, you know, like those pathways in my brain had already been created, you know. Like those pathways, like all this time I thought I was enhancing shit. And at the end of the day, I wasn't. I was quiet. I was quieting the noise, and I was going through all, like, you know, anything that happened in my life that my dad taught me, tuck away your feelings, you know, all that shit. My cup was fucking full, you know. So when I smoke weed and when I do coke and all that shit, I'm not thinking about none of that. So I wasn't fucking enhancing shit. I was just quieted in that shit so I can finally fucking relax. That's what I was doing. And I didn't see that till recently. You know, I didn't see that that's what I was doing. So I think in my head, like after that shit happened, I think it was real easy for my brain to go, hey, you know what you can do? You know, you can go get a bag and not think about none of this shit, right? You know? And that's exactly what I did. Like not immediately, but you know, like that was a process, you know, like shortly after I started seeking better coke. I started putting myself in very, very risky situations. You know, I would go in these bad neighborhoods and I'd go chill at the corner stores and I would seek out the dudes that smoke crack, and I would watch and I would see who they would buy from. And then I would approach those dudes and be like, hey, I'm looking for the powder. And to be honest, it was really hard for me to get powder at first. You know, they don't want to sell you powder. They want to sell you crack, you know. Crack keeps you coming back, you know, like powder, I may not come back till tomorrow, you know. Crack, I'm gonna empty out the bank account, you know. Me, I'll empty out the bank account on coke though. So they figured that out quick. You know, I kind of worked my way up the lower end of the ladder. Like, you know, I'm not getting from dudes off the boat and shit, but like let's just say at the beginning, I was getting from dudes on the corner beach cruisers and shit. And by the end, I was, you know, within about a year or two, I was getting from dudes driving Mercedes and Acuras and Lexuses, you know. I was kind of at next level from the street level is where I was getting from, you know. And it was consistent and it was fire, you know. So now I'm getting fire shit. And that made me feel good. Like, yeah, I got that fire shit. Like anytime people came around, they're like, yo, Wick's got coke, you know, like, yo, let me get a bump. You know, that made me, you know, that bursted my ego in itself. After the robbery though, we moved in with my mother-in-law. Yeah, I was tight. You know, it was just like a lot of people in one house. You know, we went from living in a house to living in a room, you know. I didn't want to be there. It just gave me an excuse to be out of the house. I would work more, quote unquote, work more, you know. We eventually rented in that same building, my brother-in-law bought a condo, and we rented a condo from him. And he's a fucking speaker meeting in himself. Like, let's just say he's the number one on my resentment list, my brother-in-law. But we won't get into that shit. But when we'd be at that pool, you know, we'd be at the pool or whatever, and I had spotted a condo like in the bottom corner. And I said, I hate this building, but I'll tell you what, if that bottom corner ever became available, I like that unit. Like it leads right to the pool. That is nice. Almost like a little house off to the corner there, you know, except it didn't have the responsibilities of a house. And within about a year, you know, that condo became available, you know, and the lady that was living there died. I bought it. And we renovated it, and it was awesome, you know. And now like that higher power kind of piece started kind of coming back, because after we got robbed and after the miscarriage, I was like, fuck God, you know. And But then that's when I was like, okay, like that's why that shit happened. That makes sense now, you know. But I was too far gone in my coke addiction by then, you know. The pool fencing was coming to a close. I was fucking that business up. You know, the foreclosed pool bank business, that whole shit was gone. So I was back to selling shit. And, you know, I was showing up to a mess of these fucking jobs, you know. I started to Uber. Uber just started coming into play. And people laugh, they're like, oh, you used to Uber? Like, yeah, you damn right. I used to make $1,000 a week Ubering. You know, I'd only do Uber XL. It was right at the beginning, you know, right at the beginning of that window. And but let me just give you an idea of what that looked like, okay? I'd wake up first thing in the morning, and I live close to the beach. So there's a bunch of hotels right by the beach, and I was the closest Uber to that hotel. And every single morning, I would clock in at Uber XL, and every morning I'd get either a ride to Fort Lauderdale Airport, which paid $50, or I'd get a ride to Miami Airport, which paid $100. And I would go, and then the way Uber was set up, as soon as you do the ride, you can cash out. You can have that money put in your account right away. And I would cash out, and I'd go get a bag of Coke. And then I'd keep driving. And as soon as I'd run out, I'd go get a bag of Coke. And I would just do that all fucking day long. And, you know, I have a lot of shame in that. Like, you know, I would drive at night, picking up people that are trying to take a fucking Uber, you know, because they don't want to drive. And I'm more fucked up than they are, you know? Like, I got a lot of shame in that shit. So now my wife gets pregnant again. So we're in a new condo. My wife gets pregnant again. Anxiety goes up for her, me. You know, I kind of hide my fears. You know, I don't want to add to hers. You know, but she was scared. She was scared she's going to lose a baby again. You know, we're kind of getting up in there in age, and we're becoming higher risk. And you know, it was a scary moment. You know, and we wanted that second kid really bad. You know, but my wife was so occupied with being pregnant. You know, I should have been there for her more, you know, but she was so occupied and trying to eat right and trying to sleep right and trying to read. And, you know, like whatever she can do to make her pregnancy smooth, she was focused on. So she kind of lost. I was easy for me to fly under the radar. I would use excuses like, you know, well, you're going to go on maternity leave. So, you know, I got to work. I got to make money, you know, and meanwhile, I'm out partying, you know. You know, we weren't sleeping in the same room, you know, same thing. I would lie and say, you know, I don't want to interrupt your sleep. So I'm just going to sleep in the kids' room and I'll let you guys sleep in here. That way I don't wake you, you know? And, you know, ultimately, so, you know, I could be tweaking all night and she's not going to see that. She's not going to peep that. So she has a baby. Let me give you an idea of where I was at when my second son was born. And this is the most shameful part of my life. We wake up in the morning. Well, she wakes up because I've been up all night doing fucking coke. And getting ready. She's excited. You know, we're going to have the baby. And, you know, we got this far. And she's nervous, though, you know. And we show up to the hospital. Got my son, got my mother-in-law. It's a planned C-section. She gets prepped for surgery. Mind you, she works at this fucking hospital, okay? And she's getting prepped for surgery. I'm in the bathroom at the hospital, son, mother-in-law, right outside, and I'm doing coke in the fucking hospital bathroom. You know, that's where my fucking head was at. I cannot look at a fucking baby picture of my son Mason and not cringe because I knew exactly where my head was at the day that I seen him born. You know, like, what the fuck were you thinking? You know, it's my most shameful moment. And I'm working through it, you know, like there's nothing I can do about it now. You know, I can live my amends. I can not be a piece of shit dad, you know. I can't fix it. I can't change it. You know, my wife doesn't even know all that. She knows I was a mess, but she doesn't know that part of that story. You know, that's for you guys to know. I never really even spoke about that to anybody else but my sponsor. But, you know, my wife hated the Uber thing. You know, we get the baby home and she's still occupied and breastfeeding. And, you know, like, I'm not sleeping in the room because I don't want to wake the baby. You know, just is all for you. I'm catering to my family, right? And I got a new job. You know, I got a job working in a print shop, same job I work today. And, you know, I'm getting raises and promotions. I was extremely, extremely high functioning drug addict. You know, like I was a very, very, like one thing I could say, I was extremely dependable. You know, if I told you I was going to be there, I'm going to show up. I might be fucked up, you know, but I'm going to show up. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And I'm extremely high functioning, which was a fault because it kept me, you know, it kept that rock bottom further away, you know, because I was still able to maintain. I was still able to make money. But it wasn't like the finances. I was starting to get more in debt, you know, spending more money than I was making. I was still handling all the finances as far as like what my wife makes and shit. I started opening up credit cards, you know, in my name. I started opening up credit cards without even her knowing, in her name, you know, just to maintain this lifestyle that we're living, you know, except this time she don't know about it, you know. So as long as she's got her nails done and her hair done and, you know, and not even that much. Not, like I said, she's not a materialistic person, but she wants the basics. You know what I'm saying? You know, but I started listening to Dopey. That's at that moment, like right when I started that job is when I started, you know, you're probably talking like 2016, somewhere around there, maybe early 17. Episode 30 is when I hopped in. And, you know, I started realizing that, like, I couldn't stop, you know. I was able, like, back in my 30s and shit, I was early 30s, I was able to put this shit in a drawer and not touch it for a week. And now I couldn't stop, you know. I tried to put it down. All these mile markers were happening. I had a son. I couldn't stop. I got a new job. I couldn't stop. I'm out of money. I couldn't stop. You know, I was always finding a way to get more. I'd wake up in the morning with the intention not to do shit. And by the afternoon, by happy hour, every single fucking day, I could not stay away from it. I didn't even have fun, you know? Listening to Dave and Chris, though, I started, I thought about it later. It was almost a cry for help, you know? I had sent in an email to Dave and Chris, and it got played, I think it was episode 121 is when it got played. It was under the name John. And, I was a mess. Like, I listened back to that and I was still a fucking mess, you know? But it's funny because, like, I started thinking about that. All good, Steve. I started thinking about it. And that was the first time that I said to anybody, that was the first time that I had ever written on paper that I had a coke problem, you know? Like, that's weird. Like, that's the first people that I told was Dave and Chris that I have a coke problem. I didn't have anybody. I didn't have a network, you know? There was this little like raid in a suite. It was like a neighborhood suite. I was in the neighborhood getting coke and I had to deal with a middleman. And basically what happened was I'm driving with this dude and they were just doing hits on all these different houses. They were just doing a neighborhood suite and I got wrapped up into it. When they pulled me over, I swallowed about a half a gram of shit. And, luckily, I got out of that with a weed ticket. The dude that was with me, who I don't even know his last name is, I don't even know what happened to him. Let's just say I'm lucky that I'm not in prison right now because of the dudes that I was dealing with, and they didn't give a fuck about me. So who knows what he had on him, what he had in my car. Somebody was looking over me, you know. Somebody was fucking looking over me and got me out of that shit. Again, it wasn't enough, you know. I had, you know, when you look on Facebook and you see couples and they look so pretty and beautiful, you know what? I don't give a shit. Every relationship, every marriage has their dirt. Every single one, you know. And I've been with my wife for over 25 years now. So it's real easy, you know, and like you see shit on Facebook and, oh yeah, we're on the yacht or we're on the bullshit. I feel, you know how I feel? No, I'm not saying anybody about anybody in particular, but you know how I feel about that shit? I feel like the more roses you got in your garden, the more dirt you're trying to hide. That's how I see it, you know? So I have a lot of, you know, resentments that I have with my wife, you know, as her for me, you know? So all those years of being together, it's real fucking easy for me to go and pull up this resentment from, you know, where were you on January 15th, 2002? And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, like, I'd be coked up and paranoid and like all this shit's racing through my head and like thinking about bullshit from back in the day when we were in our 20s, you don't know what I was talking about. I was so fucking hostile and an asshole that she didn't want, I wasn't hostile, I wasn't violent, but a lot of yelling and screaming, a lot of barking at the kids. She started catching on to the finances, and she started realizing, I think what happened is she asked if she can get her hair done. And I said, oh, not this week. You got to wait till next week. She's like, wait, what do you mean not this week? She's like, are we okay financially? She's like, I've been back working a year. Like, what's going on? And she ain't stupid. She started doing the math, and she's like, something ain't adding up. She goes, I'm gonna tell you what. She goes, I don't know what the fuck's going on with you. She honestly thought I was cheating on her. She thought I had another girl on the side and was, spending money on this chick on the side. And she said, I don't know what the fuck's going on with you. But from now on, we're splitting the finances 50-50. And basically at this point, we're living like roommates. I wasn't sleeping in the same room. We were splitting the bills 50-50. And we had kids together. That's it, After that, I got so paranoid. I'll give you a quick dopey story. And I've said this here before. We have these track lightings, in our dining room. And, they almost look like little cameras. And I was doing coke one day and I was looking at that shit. I could have swore that motherfucker moved on me and looked at me. And I was like, hold on a second, and as I'm walking through the house, I see this light that's following me, and I'm like, something's going on here, And I look it up on Amazon. And this is a thing. There's light bulb security cameras. I'm like, yo, she's fucking watching me, And after that, and after the raid, I was like, I thought the FBI was following me. I thought the cops were following me. I thought my wife's watching me. She had private investigators, drones, I was a fucking paranoid mess. I was a fucking mess. And I even changed the light bulbs, and I go to her, I'd be like, yeah, I changed all the light bulbs. I don't know what's going on. She's like, okay. I was out of my fucking mind, One thing that stuck with me with Dopey that they said a lot was they said, tell somebody if you're fucked, if you're struggling, tell somebody you loved, And I started having a realization, more and more listening to Dopey, and this was my only connection to recovery. I had nobody. I don't know nobody. You got to remember, this is before Chris died. There's no Facebook, none of that. All we had was Dopey in our ear. That's it, That was my recovery. That was my only connection to recovery was that. And I started considering, I need fucking help. I just didn't know who to tell. I couldn't tell my friends. I didn't trust them. I couldn't tell my parents because they'll be disappointed. I couldn't tell my wife because she'll divorce me and take away my kids. I didn't know what to do, and I needed help badly, I was not getting out of this, and it was just getting deeper and deeper into my addiction. Father's Day 2018 comes. This is the weekend before, so Friday before Father's Day. And I get home, I was Ubering all night. And I was working my day job, but that kind of covered my bills. But I would still Uber at night. Like I said, my wife didn't care if I was out of the house because I was just less arguing in her mind. She didn't give a fuck what I was doing at that point. But I get home and she goes, let me see your phone. I go, here, check. I don't got nothing to hide, She looks at my phone. She looks at the Uber account. She's seen I haven't had a ride in 4 hours, She goes, where the fuck you been? I go, oh, it got slow. She's like, bullshit. She goes, let me see your bank account. I was like, no. I was like, you wanted to split these finances up and but no, this is what you wanted, Nina. I'm not giving you shit. Fuck you. I paid my half of the bills. She goes, you know what? Get the fuck out. I said, no, I'm not going nowhere. I said, this is my house too. These are my kids. You want me to leave? You get the fuck out. And don't take the kids with you. As if I'm capable of taking care of my kids, right? Just calling her bluff, And she just, she didn't say shit, whatever. Fuck you. We're done. We're getting divorced. We're getting a lawyer, whatever. So I go out party all weekend. I'm like, whatever, and I'm still bringing up all these resentments and justifying that. Like, I don't need her, whatever. Fuck her, This is my mind. This is in my mind. And I was getting check casher store loans. And the way to check casher store loans is you give them a check for $555 and they give you a $500 loan. You get 2 weeks to pay it back. You don't pay that shit back, they cash your check, okay? So I am negative $500 in my account. I got no money in my Uber account. I got no cash. I got no gas to do more Ubers, and I'm out of coke. Like, it's not the worst rock bottom, but it was mine, you know? And it started that thought of saying, oh, yeah, I want a divorce. That was slowly like, what are you going to do, Scott? You ain't got nowhere to fucking go. You know, anywhere you do have to go, that shit's going to expire in 2 weeks. You're not going to go to your parents or your friends or none of that shit. And I came home. I came home Sunday morning. I wasn't staying the nights out, but I would, you know, I was out in the morning. I finished whatever 20 I had. And I said, this is it. You know, that was my last straw. And I said, I got to talk to you. And she's like, what? I'm like, I got a coke problem and I can't stop. You know, I'm addicted to coke. And it all kind of made sense to her. Like all the money spending, me not being there, me being an asshole, like it all came together for her. And not to say she was there with open arms, but she could have very easily kicked me the fuck out that day, you know? And not to even say we weren't getting divorced at that point, you know? But she wasn't just, she loved me enough to not leave me fucked, you know? Because if she would have kicked me out, I'd be dead right now. No question. I'd be fucked. With this fentanyl and shit, I'd be dead. No question. You know, I didn't tell her at all. You know, I told her about the coke, but I didn't tell her about all the debts. I owed a lot of people a lot of money, you know. I had all these credit cards in her name too, you know, that I didn't tell her about, you know, that I was trying to pay on the side and keep it a secret. And so I was piecemealing this shit to her and I was forgetting about shit. And I was like, oh yeah, by the way, I owed buddy $500 because I got as a coke debt. And if we don't pay it, you know, he might show up at the house. You know, so it was a process, you know, it was about a 2-week process. She told my parents, she told her family, you know, I was pissed. I was so pissed that she hid my gun from me. Like I'm here, I'm supposed to protect my fucking family. Like her dad told me to protect her. And I'm the one she's scared of most. She hid my own fucking firearm from me, you know? And I didn't know, you know, and that was a real wake-up call for me. Like it got to that point where she thought that you might do something to her or the family, you know? And it made me sad, you know, it made me real sad. I started going to therapy, you know. I was still smoking weed. I was still drinking. Chris dies. And by this time, obviously, but just by naturally stopping to do this substance, I immediately became a better dad, became a better husband, became a better a son, an employee, you know. And I also gave her control of all the finances. Here you go. Whatever penny I make, I didn't go nowhere. Like I was under her watch, willingly under her watch, whatever you wanted. And, you know, so things got better a lot quickly. But about a month later, you know, I think Chris died, July 24th, something like that. My clean date from coke was probably end of June, somewhere like that. And he dies, the Facebook page starts. And now I finally have this community. You know, like all of a sudden, like all these people from all over the world that are just like me. And not only like a lot of these people were in recovery, but a lot of them weren't. You know, a lot of them were looking for it like me. You know, a lot of them didn't want the fellowship and the 12-step and the AA. A lot of them, this was their recovery, you know. And all good, James. And, you know, it's just and the other thing, too, is this is all dopey fans, you know. This is all fucking dopey fans. And so this is like if you had a band that you love, like this underground hip hop band or like punk band that you loved, you know, and you didn't know anybody else that loved them. And all of a sudden you find hundreds and thousands of people that love this band, you know, it's like that, you know. And the other thing too is that like y'all made recovery seem cool as fuck. You know, like prior to this, I looked at recovery like it was all doom and gloom. You know, this was my view on it. I have a different view nowadays, you know. But I looked at AANA and all that shit. I looked at it as like doom and gloom, and like I don't want to be a part of that shit. I ain't trying to sit here and listen to everybody's tears, and you know, like I didn't want no part of that. I wasn't that bad off, you know. I'm not you guys. But y'all brought swag to recovery. Y'all made this shit cool, you know. All recovery. This shit sounded cool. I could still smoke my weed, and I could still be right. And I needed that, you know. Like I wasn't really. Yeah, you can go to. They say yeah. Oh, yeah, you can come into AA, but don't talk. Well, what good's that? You know, and I get that. I get why. Why should I be able to smoke weed and none of you can't? I get it. But at the time, I was very salty about that. Like, well, where the fuck am I supposed to go then? I need recovery. You know, I'm recovering from coke. Where am I supposed to go? Because I smoke weed, I'm not allowed to talk in here. That was a different mindset than what I have today, though. I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you that. And I understand all those reasons why. I understand the reasons for abstinence. And I'm not here to judge none of you. Your recovery is your fucking business. That's your path. I'm not here to judge you. It's just what worked for me, okay? So I became more and more involved with Dopey. Started sending in music, started talking to Dave, you know, started doing memes and, you know, just having fun with all you guys at Dopey Nation. And the want for drinking became less. I did have a few one-day coke relapses. I did have a few in there, but they were one day, one bag, no fun. A bag of paranoia is what it was. And let me tell you something, I was risky because if I got caught, I would have been out the house. No question. No tolerance, you know. And COVID hits. And by this time I had completely quit drinking. So I was just smoking weed. COVID hits, Dopey Zoom starts. And, you know, it was amazing. You know, like I never went to a meeting before and I had no interest in any 12-step meeting. But Dopey's got meetings. I'll check that shit out, you know. I'll go see what this is all about. It's just a Zoom meeting. I could leave if I want, you know. And I hit up Ben, who was, you know, running the meetings at the time, and I told him that I smoked, you know. Is it cool if I come? He's like, yeah, you know, it's just a fan page, man. You know, it's all good. It's like, all right, cool. I went there. I didn't say much. You know, that night, Jeff May hit me up. And he says to me, he goes, hey, I didn't hear from you, you know. I'd like to hear from you. I said, you know, I was like, oh, shit. You know, like somebody noticed me, you know what I mean? And it was, I was like, all right, you know. And I came back to that Dopey Zoom room, and I never shut the fuck up. You know, like I learned so much. We were hosting meetings, and I connected with so many of you, you know, on that day, on that time period, really, you know. It was fucking awesome, you know. And now I'm rubbing shoulders with people in recovery, you know. I think Ben hit his anniversary on the 27th of March. And it was cool. It was cool to see that, you know, and a lot of people in Zoom, although some of them smoked or, you know, on subs, and again, no judgment, you know, still none. I don't give a fuck what you do. Your recovery, the next day better than the last. That's all I ask. Constant elevation. That's what I believe in. Constant elevation. Don't move backwards, move forward, you know. But Ben hit his thing on the 27th, and it was inspiring to me, you know, and it wasn't just him. It was a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys had years and days, and it was inspiring. So Friday come, and I told my wife, I said, fuck it. I smoked that afternoon. I went to Dopey Zoom that night, and I didn't say shit, you know. I didn't say shit to nobody. I let it go 3 days before I made an announcement. And I gave my wife, I had like a half a weed too, some good weed too. That shit made me, it was hard. But I gave it up. And, you know, like, that's hard. I would usually do that. I'm going to finish this shit. Gave it to her, hide this. If I lose my shit, keep it on deck in case I need it, you know. And it was a tough first day, but I got through it. And by the third day, I made an announcement. And I came in this same exact room, and y'all fucking clapped and fucking cheered. And I was like, damn, you know, like, I'm not turning back now. You know what I mean? There's this girl named Yina that I met in Dopey Nation, and she had reached out. And again, there's so many of you that help you, and I would love to name each and every one of you. We would be for 3.5 hours, you know. But Yina was a big part of it because I reached out. She actually reached out to me. She had put a post up, and she was struggling, and whatever I said caught her ear. And she posted the next day, and she posted me a picture of a bagel. And she said, "You like bagels?" And I was like, "Damn right, I like bagels." You know, we started talking, and she lives in New York, and you know, started telling me about her husband and her dog, and I started telling her about my family, and we're the same. You know, like my little sister. You know, a lot of similarities. And she invited me to go to a CA meeting, New York CA meeting. I'm not going to say no, you know, but this is like, well, I'm already going to Dopey meetings. Like, well, let me pop into here. You know, it's Cocaine Anonymous for those that don't know. And, man, I went in there, and when I tell you, this shit was like a room full of Brendas. You know, I mean, they were all like, yeah, I've been here 40 years, same block, same building. You know, I see the crack dealers. You know, it's just like holy shit. Like, yo, this was entertaining. Like, Dopey was dope, but this was like a bunch of Brendas in this motherfucker. And I was like, yo. And it was awesome. You know, it was so great. It was so fucking great. And, yeah, can I pee tomorrow, Brenda? I wish Dave was here to do that voice right now. But it was a bunch of fucking Brendas, you know? And these people were cool, man. You know, it wasn't much different than Dopey. A little bit more structure, you know, a little bit more prayer, a little less, you know, allowed. You know what I mean? You know, I wouldn't be able to share like this in that kind of meeting. You know what I mean? But it was, and she also sent me a big book, you know? And this is somebody that reached out to help from me. Okay, I had more clean time than her, and she's bringing me to meetings, and she's sending me a big book, you know. So I decided, you know, like, I want to work these steps. I started hearing in Dopey Zoom and these meetings, like, how all these things that people were struggling with. I said, I want to do that. You know, they seem to find a lot of serenity with these steps. What the fuck do I have to lose? I'm putting all this time into Dopey Zoom. Like, why can't I take a couple hours a week? I found a sponsor. In Dopey. A lot of you guys know who he is. And, yo, this dude, one of the realists, man. One of the fucking realists. And, you know, he had been through more shit than me. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I needed. You know, I needed somebody that's been in the gutter and that's seen it all. You know, I really needed that. I also needed somebody that did it at my speed, you know. And, I learned how to you know, how the steps work, getting all your resentments on paper and reflect on them. Where were you wrong in all of this? And learning that all this shit was out of my control, you know? I was trying to play God. Page 60, 61 in fucking Big Book. Whether you're in fellowship or not, go read page 60, 61. Down to the motherfucking Florida sunshine. If that's not a Todd shot for me, I don't know what is, you know? And I will say one thing, and I'll wrap it up with you guys. I'm sorry. You guys are probably like, holy shit, thank God. But I will say, when I did my resentment list, you know, you write who the resentment is, why, and how does it affect you? How does it affect you, column? Ego, 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 ego. Every motherfucking resentment, ego. Every single one. Now, you know, when you talk about, I'm not here to try to push higher powers or God, or I don't even believe in God. I believe in, you know, I'm not here to push this shit on you. Whatever you believe in is on you and what you want to call it or nothing or whatever, you know, I don't care. But for me, my higher power looks like a universe guiding me through this path. Okay. Good or bad. Okay. If it's bad, it's lessons. And, you know, that's saying that something good comes out of everything bad. And that's hard, you know, that's hard to identify when you're going through really, really bad shit. You know, like I said, like my story is not as near as traumatic as some of y'all's. But when you take what happened with my childhood, me losing my condo, me going bankrupt, the miscarry, getting burglarized, to placing me in the right spot at the right time with my credit at the right time to buy another condo, to finding Dopey at that specific time, to COVID hitting at that specific time, to Dopey Zoom hitting at that specific time in my life, to getting clean, to working steps, to seeing clarity, to making moves, to having enough clarity to make moves. And, you know, some bad shit happened too, but I sold my condo that we had. And we made a lot of money off it. I'm not trying to sit here and brag, okay? I'm not here to brag about it. I bought a house, and it ain't nothing special. It's in the same fucking neighborhood. It's 3 blocks from where I grew up, okay? 3 blocks from where I grew up. And it's only a 2-2. It ain't nothing. I bought a pool from BJ's for like $600. Like, but guess what? This is my fucking dream house. I got everything I fucking need. Everything I need is right here. I got my family. I'm clean. I'm honest. I got my job. I got my health. I got everything I fucking need. I don't need none of that material shit. I don't need new sneakers. I don't need some fly clothes on. I need a Dopey shirt, my fucking headphones, and my family. And that's it. You know, and I don't give a fuck about nothing else. I really fucking don't. And if you take any single one of those things out of this equation, any single one, the bad or the good, I wouldn't be here today about to celebrate my fucking year with my favorite fucking people in the world. And that's my fucking share, man. I love y'all, man.
Dopey.